Okay, guys. So we will start with part 18. Okay. So part 18 related to emergency. So in this session, what we are going to do is we will discuss about three emergency. We will discuss about national emergency. We will discuss about the state emergency or the president's rule. Okay. And then we will discuss about financial emergency or financial emergency. Okay. So national emergency under article 352, you can add 4 356 and then add 4 360. Okay, so three emergencies is what national emergency. If it is based on war or external aggression, you will understand it as external emergency. If it is based on internal disturbance, in fact in the beginning it was internal disturbance, and this internal disturbance have been replaced with armed rebellion later. And if it is based on armed rebellion, it will be internal emergency. Just anyway, it is national emergency only. Okay, so this is what what I'll do today. I'll discuss about national emergency today. Okay, so this article 352 is what we are going to discuss. So what are the grounds for national emergency? It could be war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. Just before, I have told you initially it was internal disturbance, but this internal disturbance is very subjective. So later it was replaced with, in the 44th Amendment Act, it was replaced with armed rebellion. Okay, internal disturbance can be anything, even any simple small things which is going against the state. The prime minister can take it as internal disturbance and can go with if you can convince the council of ministers, you can easily go with the emergency, and you can misuse this emergency on the basis of internal disturbance. So internal disturbance actually replaced it with armed rebellion. It has to be armed rebellion. Okay, so war, external aggression, and armed rebellion. How many times it has been proclaimed, or how many times? Three times, right? First in 1962, it went till 68 during this Chinese war. Okay, now that time, you can see 1965 India Pak war also was there, but there is no need of separate proclamation of emergency at that point of time, because this one was already going on. Okay, so that is why there was no separate proclamation, even though there was a war which is coming later. Okay, in 1965, because it went till 1968. Then second time it was in 71 till 77 during the India Pakistan war. Okay, now here during this emergency, when it was in operation, one more emergency was proclaimed, that is on the basis of internal disturbance, that is 1975 to 77. So you can see this was going in parallel. Okay, so these are the three instances or three situations when national emergency was actually proclaimed or imposed. Now we will quickly see the grounds. Okay, I'll quickly discuss what all important things are there which you can expect from exam and the conceptual part. Then we will move on to Lakshmikant and we will see. I have already underlined everything which is important for you guys for exam point of view. Then we will see that as well. Okay, so what are the grounds? If the president is satisfied, if the security of the country is under threat. Okay, so it is again related to security of the country. If he feel that it is under threat, or if he feel that any imminent threat is there, means the threat is near. It is not necessary that a war have to happen or an external aggression have to happen. If he feel that, if he thinks that, now he think or he feel, it's all subject to the cabinet. Okay, cabinet have to give the written recommendation to the president, because president have to act accordingly only. So when I say the word president is satisfied, means it is actually the cabinet have to give the written recommendation to the president to invoke emergency or to proclaim emergency. So if the president feel that the security of the country is under threat. Okay, under threat means here only three grounds. Okay, so mainly the external aggression or war or the armed rebellion. So the president can proclaim national emergency. Now why I am using this word proclaim? Because this is you see, it is not, you are not waiting for the war to happen, right? So the proclamation is coming first and then it will be accepted later, right? I will tell you when it is getting accepted and how is it getting accepted. First, when you're proclaiming emergency, you have to get the written recommendation from the cabinet. So once the cabinet, that is the top decision making body, we will discuss about cabinet and all later when we discuss about the chapter parliament. But right now, just understand, once you get the written permission or the recommendation from the cabinet, which is headed by the prime minister, president will proclaim. So the proclamation will come first. Then after that, within 1 month only, it need to get acceptance from both the houses of parliament, Rajya Sabha as well as Lok Sabha, with a special majority. I'll come back to this side, how to get the special majority and all those things. You know what is special majority and how is it getting when you talk about special majority in the context of accepting this national emergency, and during removal you need only simple majority. I'll come to that. Okay, so as of now, this is a context. The ground in which it can be imposed is if the president feel that the security of the country is under threat. Okay, and if there is an imminent danger, that means the danger is near. That is the point that I have told you. It is not necessary that the war have to happen or the external aggression have to happen. Even before that also, you can proclaim emergency if you feel that there is a threat which is nearby. But it has to be with the written recommendation of the cabinet. So if the cabinet give the written recommendation, the president will proclaim. And because war is coming now, you may not get time to meet the parliament and get the approval from Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, right? So proclamation is done first, and within 1 month it have to be approved by Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha with special majority. Guys, earlier this was 2 month. Within 2 month you need to get the acceptance, but later it was changed to 1 month. Earlier it was simple majority, but later it was, I'll tell you which amendment, and it is basically 44th amendment only. All the major changes with respect to emergency happened in 44th amendment. Even some small changes were there in 38th and all, but 44th amendment brought the major changes, because that this 75 emergency was like misuse of emergency provision, the third one that we have discussed. Because of that only, 44th amendment made a lot of changes. This 2 month made to 1 month, the simple majority made to special majority. So when I say special majority, you know what is that, right? You have to get the 2/3 of present and voting plus absolute majority, both required. Absolute majority means majority of the total house, right? Let's say if it is 545, or let's say if it is 200, what you need, absolute majority means 101. So you need to get this concept, majority concepts we have already discussed. But guys, in case of national emergency only, this change has been brought in, because this is the one which is misused, right, during this time. But in case of state emergency or the president rule, and in case of financial emergency, it is the same. Like you need to get acceptance from Rajya Sabha and the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, the parliament need to pass it within 2 months only. Here, 1 month it has been changed. Earlier it was 2 months. Okay, now it is changed to 1 month. But in state emergency and financial emergency, it is 2 months now. Now here simple majority, here also simple majority, here also simple majority. But this simple majority in case of national emergency have changed to special majority. But here it remain as the simple majority. So I hope this is clear. When I discuss about national emergency, state emergency, financial emergency, okay. So here you need special majority now. Okay, here you need simple majority now. Here also you need simple majority. Here it was simple majority, but now it is special majority. Here 2 months before, now 1 month. Here 2 months, here 2 months. Okay, so no need to have confusion. President rule and financial emergency I'll discuss tomorrow, or the state emergency. So this is a context. Under Article 352, President can declare a national emergency when the security of India or a part of it is threatened by war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. There's a three ground in which you can impose emergency. Okay, this point, even before the actual occurrence of war or external aggression, if he feel that there is an imminent danger, something which is near, he can proclaim emergency. But it has to be with the written recommendation of the cabinet. Okay, the president can also issue different proclamations on ground of war. Now what does this mean? This means this was something which was added in 38th Amendment Act. This means, for example, I've told you 71 emergency was going on, right? But in 75 also one more emergency proclaimed. That is what you mean by this. You can issue different proclamation. One already is going on, then parallelly this one is also going on. That was made possible in the 38th Amendment, 1975. Guys, I've told you in the context of 62 to 68, the first emergency, but this is during Chinese War. But when 65, there was India-Pak war, there was no need to go for another emergency because already this emergency was in operation. Okay, but if this would have been there, they could have gone with this another proclamation also, but this amendment was done later. That is why in 71, even though there is one emergency which is going on, 75 they have gone with another emergency. So these two, this will continue from 71 to 77, this will continue from 75 to 77. But this was the one which was, the commission was appointed, the name is I think Shah Commission, found it there was no reason, it was total misuse of emergency provision, and that is the reason why the next government which came to power, the general government, have made some changes. That is what 44th, and the changes is briefly, few changes we have discussed, I will be discussing more also. Okay, this one, if it is declared on the basis of war or external aggression, it is external emergency. If it is armed rebellion, it is internal emergency. It can be applicable to entire country or even part of it. Okay, so the 42nd Amendment Act actually enabled the president to limit the operation of national emergency to a specified part of India. This one also we have discussed. The 44th Amendment Act substituted the word armed rebellion from internal disturbance. The reason is, if you are using internal disturbance, any local issues can also be taken as internal disturbance. Even, guys, if at this point of time, this farmers strike, this also can be taken as an internal disturbance, right? You can say that law and order violation is there, damage of properties are there. Okay, so it is creating national wide problem. Okay, so you can consider this as an internal disturbance, and you can even invoke emergency. So that is not allowed. Okay, it has to be based on armed rebellion. Again, this one was also added in the 44th Amendment Act. So only after receiving a written recommendation from the cabinet, president can proclaim emergency. So when I say the president is satisfied, or the president feel that, or the president think that, it is actually who feel or who think or who is satisfied. It is the cabinet which is to be satisfied. Only with the written recommendation you can impose emergency. Okay, so this one what I've told you, 44th Amendment Act, to avoid all the misuse of. Otherwise, why this cabinet now? Before that was not the case, but in 1975 emergency was imposed solely by Indira Gandhi. Even the Council of Ministers, even the top of the ministers were not aware, only the Prime Minister was aware. Even Prime Minister on a sudden day night went to the president and got it signed. Okay, so to avoid that kind of situation, that only Prime Minister alone taking a decision with respect to national emergency, this 44th Amendment Act was imposed. 38 was different, which I've told you. 38 was related to simultaneous proclamation provision, is what we have discussed. But this is a major change. 44th is what you need to know from emergency perspective. This is a one which have brought major change. And guys, again, Minerva Mills case, this is something which I have discussed before also when we discussed about basic feature or basic structure doctrine. I've told you judicial review as a basic structure as asserted in Minerva Mills case. Even here also, Supreme Court held that proclamation of national emergency can be challenged. So when I use the word can be challenged, means it is not immune from judicial review, because judicial review anyway is basic structure. So any executive action, okay, is part of judicial review. So proclamation of emergency is part of judicial review if it is malified. Okay, so if the Supreme Court feel that the cabinet with the malified intention have done this, then it can struck down also this emergency. This one also we have done parliamentary approval. What the approval is required? Both the houses of parliament, what majority? Within 1 month, right? Earlier it was 2 months, now 1 month. So what majority? Special majority. Earlier it was simple majority. Originally the period of approval was 2 months, okay, but was reduced in the 44th Amendment Act. If it is not passed in the parliament, it will only remain in 1 month. Within after 1 month, it will cease to operate. It has to be passed by both the houses of the parliament. I'm coming to that. Automatically, it will get revoked if the both the houses of the parliament is not passing this one. Okay, what if the proclamation is happening at the time Lok Sabha is dissolved? Then, if Lok Sabha is dissolved, let Rajya Sabha pass it, and then newly formed Lok Sabha will come, and this emergency will survive till 30 days after the newly formed Lok Sabha. And if the newly formed Lok Sabha is not passing for 30 days, then it will cease to operate. Okay, so that it will survive till the 30 days of the newly formed Lok Sabha, provided Rajya Sabha has approved it. Now, once approved, it will continue for 6 months. Okay, guys, here it is written that if it is approved by both the houses of parliament, the emergency will continue for 6 months. But one thing that you need to understand is, suppose Jan 30 emergency proclaimed. Okay, now by Feb 28, it is approved. Okay, now how long it can survive maximum? Any idea? Is it from approval or from proclamation? Yeah, it will continue for 6 months from proclamation, not from approval. Okay, but later when we discuss about president rule, we will change that, and I'll tell you that from approval it will be for 6 months. So understand here, this one in national emergency, it is from the date of proclamation 6 months. It doesn't matter when it is approved. It can be Feb 14 or Feb 15 or Feb 16. Okay, it doesn't matter when it is proclaimed. From there, 6 months. Okay, but in case of president rule, this is different. When it is approved, from there onwards, it is 6 months. So what is special majority? You know that majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting, and a special majority provision was introduced in 44th amendment. So here, not only 2/3, this also required majority of the total membership, means 50% plus one. Okay, joint sitting not possible. Individually, they have to do. Okay, now we will discuss about revocation. So how can it be revoked? So it is very simple. If the president say that on the advice of council of minister, that it can be easily withdrawn, right? Anytime by the proclamation of revocation issued by president, anytime. So, but with the advice of the cabinet or the council of ministers. With the advice of the council of ministers, president can revoke the national emergency which is issued. Guys, just remember, the simple thumb rule is, putting emergency is difficult because you need special majority, both the houses of parliament. But revocation is easy. Why it is easy? Because you can apply the logic here. You need any of the house, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, with simple majority. Now if you think the logic, if any house is not ready with this, what does that mean? After 6 months, what does that mean? If still you need to continue, do you think you will get the special majority to get it continued? No, right? That is why any house is enough in case of revocation. Similarly, simple majority is enough, because if you are getting simple majority, automatically it means that you cannot get special majority. Okay, so for revocation, any house with simple majority. Okay. Similarly, Lok Sabha can some 10% of the members, the total members of Lok Sabha, if write a notice or issue a notice to the president, and then the president have, if the Lok Sabha is not in session, or to the speaker. So this 10% of the members of Lok Sabha can issue notice to the speaker. Then a special session has to be conducted. Special sitting of Lok Sabha has to be convened within how many days? Within 14 days to consider the continuation of national emergency. Okay, so there is a special power to Lok Sabha with respect to withdrawal of emergency. What is that special power? If 10 percentage of the total members of Lok Sabha give a notice to the president, if the Lok Sabha is not in session, or either to the president or to the speaker, then a special session or a special meeting have to be convened within 14 days, and in this the decision has to be taken. Okay, so it's not that this 10% saying no, the emergency is not continuing. No, that is not the case. If this 10% is saying, then you will go with the session, and you will see whether you are able to get the 2 by 3rd of the majority and also absolute majority. So even without this 10%, you can get this. No, you can get this. If you can get this, there is no problem. But the special power of Lok Sabha, I am saying this one. I hope this is clear. Okay. No, I'm saying that from the proclamation, it will continue for 6 months. After 6 months, again, it can be extended with the same procedure that Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has to pass again with the special majority. It can continue. Okay, so 3 grounds. First, president can revoke it with the advice of Council of Ministers or the cabinet. Second, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, if they don't want to continue, again automatically it will be over. Okay, so then even the proclamation is done, but Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha is not approving, automatically it will be revoked. There won't be any further continuation also. Thirdly, Lok Sabha have the special power. What is that special power? 10% of the members can write to president or speaker that we are not interested in continuing. So immediately within 14 days, the speaker have to convene a session, and in that session, if you are not able to get 2 by 3rd of the support, then it will cease to operate. Okay, so these are the 3 grounds in which the emergency can be revoked. That's what exactly written here, guys. There is no point in yeah, before 6 months also, after proclamation, if you see that see, before 6 months, all the 3 condition I have discussed is applicable only before 6 months. After 6 months, it is separately need to be passed. No, before 6 months, if president can revoke even after 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, so that first one applicable before 6 months. Second one, either Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha is not approving, that is also happening before 6 months. That is over. Okay, or Lok Sabha. Now, once these are approved, then maybe after 2-3 months, Lok Sabha 10% of the members feel that it is not desirable. They can write a letter or send a notice. Then a special session will be conducted in Lok Sabha. And in that session, if you are getting 2 by 3rd support and absolute majority, no problem. It will continue for another 6 months. But in that, if you're not getting this, it will cease to operate. Okay, now if you need to continue further after 6 months, the same process need to be followed. Again, special majority in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the same process. So I'm saying revocation before 6 months case. Without the consent of cabinet, president cannot do. Okay, now we will see. Okay, before that, let me quickly go through this. So the first one, it can be revoked by the president anytime. Okay, so you just need another proclamation. No, guys, financial emergency is different. Financial emergency and state emergency is somewhat flexible, but this one also was flexible, but 44th Amendment Act made it slightly tougher. Otherwise, this will lead to misuse of emergency provision. President rule and financial emergency will discuss later. That tomorrow I'll discuss. So that is somewhat more flexible, because this is the one which was misused. Okay. So the first one, it can be revoked by the president at any point of time. Okay, and it does not require any parliamentary approval. But like what you have asked, it doesn't need parliamentary approval, but what you need the written recommendation. Again, the it has to be, when I say president do something, it should be based on the recommendation of the cabinet only. Okay. Similarly, Lok Sabha passes a resolution disapproving its continuation. We have discussed it. Okay, guys. Before 44th Amendment Act, the proclamation could be revoked by the president on his own, and the Lok Sabha had no control in this regard. Like once it is imposed, then Lok Sabha had not control. Only the cabinet and the president can do that. Not even the cabinet. It is a president. President means at that time prime minister. Okay, what prime minister go and tell, president will have to listen to that. Not even cabinet. Even cabinet was also added in 44th. So this provision, Lok Sabha special power, was also given by the 44th Amendment Act. Okay, this is also I've discussed. 1/10 of the total members of Lok Sabha have written notice to Speaker. Okay, if the session is not there, then a special sitting had to be conducted within 14 days. And in that session, if you're not able to get that majority which is required, then automatically it will get revoked. There's a difference between revocation as well as acceptance. The first one required to be passed by Lok Sabha only, while okay. Okay, so here resolution of disapproval and resolution of continuation. Okay, disapproval only Lok Sabha is enough, but if you need to continue, the same process need to be followed, right? Both the houses, that means Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Like when emergency proclaimed, after 1 month, what you need to get? You need to get this, get it accepted by Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So if you need to continue after 6 months, again the same thing has to be there, both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. But disapproval, Lok Sabha is enough. Okay, the first one to be adopted by simple majority, like in case of which one, disapproval, but the second one need special majority, that anyway we have discussed. Okay, this effects on emergency, out of which the most important one is actually the effects on fundamental rights. But I'll quickly go with this executive, legislative, and the other one also. Then we will discuss about the fundamental rights. Okay, fundamental rights is more important, and from there also they will ask you questions directly. What about the executive? What is the impact on the executive? So who will get the maximum power now? The union executive power will extend to any direction. Okay, so union can take the matters from the state, and union can ask the state to do these things. Okay, the state executive actions can also be taken by the union. Okay, so the union executive powers will extend to any direction to the state executive, and union can any administrative functions. Okay, union can take or do any administrative function. Similarly, when it comes to the legislative aspect, the parliament can enact laws on the state list as well. Otherwise, in the state list only state can legislate, but now parliament can legislate. So here executive function, the executive power of the center extend to directing any state regarding the manner in which the executive power to be exercised. So the union executive power is getting more dominant, and that can be imposed upon the state and can ask the state to do this. Okay, guys, one more point. When I discuss about legislative power, it is like concurrent. It is not that the state legislative power is taken away. State legislative power is there, and union legislative is also making the laws, like parliament also making the law. State legislature can make law, parliament also make law. The problem is only if there is any contradiction between this, the law made by the parliament will prevail at this point of time, even upon the state list. I repeat, in the state list, when national emergency is there, state legislature can make law, can legislate, parliament can also legislate. Okay, make law. If there is any contradiction, then this will survive, this will prevail. But that's not the case with president rule, that is state emergency, that we will discuss later. In case of state emergency, the state legislature have no role, they will not make any law, only the parliament. But here it is concurrent or parallel power between the parliament as well as state, both can exercise, both can make law. Only problem is if there is any contradiction. Okay, So during national emergencies, the center become entitled to give any executive direction to the state on any matter, and the state is responsible to implement that. So the state council of ministers will be there, legislature will be there, assembly will be there, everything will be there. But when we discuss about president rule, the council of ministers will be automatically suspended, dismissed. It will not be there. The assembly may be there after some time, only it will get once you get acceptance from the parliament and all, only it will be dissolved. Okay, but here it will function, state executive will function, but the center will get that priority. Okay, financial, president can either reduce or cancel the transfer of finances from center to the state. How much the states are getting now? 42%, or now it is 41%, right, in the 15th Finance Commission. So it can be reduced by the parliament or the center or the president. What about the impact on the life of Lok Sabha? The life of Lok Sabha may be extended beyond its normal term. Normal term is 5 years. It can get extended 1 year at a time and for any length of time. However, this extension cannot continue beyond a period of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. So long the emergency is there, the parliament by law can extend the tenure or the period of Lok Sabha. Okay, normally it is 5 years, so it can, like what happened in 1971 to, it should be of 76, and it went till 77. It was extended 2 times by 1 year at time. Now the fundamental rights. Okay, so I'll discuss this separately and then we will come back to this, Lakshmikant. Okay, so under Article 358, when national emergency is declared on account of war or external aggression, okay, remember, on war and external aggression, the fundamental rights under Article 19 automatically get suspended. Okay, you don't want any further order for this. So you will not enjoy this freedom now, like freedom of movement or anything. You cannot simply freely move or do whatever you want, like speak whatever you want. Not possible, not allowed. So automatically it will get suspended on account of 2 reasons, right? It should be war, external aggression. Remember, not on armed rebellion case. So to be specific, I can say that in case of external emergency, then Article 19 automatically gets suspended. Okay. Okay, that is about Article 358. 359. What is Article 359 is, except this 2 article, 20 and 21. What is 20? Right against this convictions. Okay. And then 21 is right to life. Except these 2, government can declare the suspension of enforceability of any other fundamental rights. What does that mean? So I hope this point is clear. 358, if the national emergency is proclaimed on the ground of war and external aggression, automatically Article 19 gone. Under 359, except Article 20 and 21, enforceability of any other fundamental rights. This one anyway is not there. Okay. Enforceability of any other fundamental rights can be suspended by the president. President means the parliament. Okay. What does that mean? Can I say the fundamental rights do not exist? No. The fundamental rights exist. All the fundamental rights exist. This anyway is gone if it is based on war and external aggression. All other fundamental rights exist. But can you go to court for enforceability? No. You cannot use this article, the 32, right? You can approach the Supreme Court. There's the right to constitutional remedy. You cannot use this. Okay. So except in this 2, 20 and 21, right to life, you cannot violate. Except for this 2, any other case, even the president can pass an order that it will get suspended. And only and they can pass any law also which is in contradiction with this particular fundamental rights, which even counter the fundamental rights. You cannot question that in the court of law. Okay, so during national emergency, article 358 and 359, the difference need to be very clear. 358 says if it is on the basis of war and external aggression, automatically article 19 is gone. There is no need of any further question. 359 says except 20 and 21, all other article you cannot enforce in any court of law if the order is passed by the president with respect to the same. But there has to be an order which is passed by the president. The point is, president can pass an order which can suspend the enforceability of any of the fundamental rights. Okay. Now I'll briefly tell you what are the main changes which were brought in by the 44th. As of now, you understood few of the changes which has been brought in. Okay. Okay, before that, it is in actually article this 42nd amendment only. It was I think I have discussed this already. Like the provisions under 352 can be imposed either throughout India, across India, or specific part. Okay, so that is in 42nd. What about 38, which I have told you? 38, you can go for simultaneous proclamation. Okay, so one is there, the other can also come with that. Okay, then 44th amendment, what are the main points? This introduction of this one, cabinet, right? So only on the written recommendation of cabinet, president can proclaim emergency. Guys, this is the most important one. Only on the written recommendation. Earlier, prime minister alone can take this decision, and Indira Gandhi done that. That is the reason why this has been made it very clear. Okay, so this is most important one. Second most important one, it was internal disturbance before. Now it got replaced with internal disturbance replaced with armed rebellion. Okay. Now one more point that I've discussed already. How within how many months it has to be accepted? Earlier it was 2 months. Now it was changed to 1 month. Which amendment? Again, 44th amendment. Earlier it was simple majority. Now it is special majority. Okay, so guys, this change has been brought in only on national emergency, but the state emergency or the president rule as well as financial emergency, this 2 months remain the same. Simple remain the same. The change is here, 1 month special. Here 2 months simple. Okay, because this is the one which is misused, this national emergency. Okay, so I hope these internal emergency also have the effects on the fundamental right. Okay, but will not get that suspended automatically. It is an emergency like all other provisions is there. Okay, other one under 44th Amendment Act, this one, article 19 automatically gets suspended, right? So these are the main changes. Okay, now let's quickly look into that impacts on the rights. Suspension of fundamental right under Article 19, according to Article 358, which we have discussed already. When a proclamation of national emergency is made, that means the 6 fundamental rights will be gone. Okay, so no separate order is required for their suspension. It is automatically suspended. So this is very clear anyway. There is no point in discussing. National emergency is gone means automatically these 19 Article 19 will come back to you, and whatever laws which Parliament has passed, which is in violation of these fundamental rights, will cease to operate once emergency is over. It will function only till emergency time. So there is no point in discussing about that, because then it will be unconstitutional. When it was there, like national emergency is there, then this fundamental right is no more there. Law is passed. Okay, even if it is violating the fundamental right, it will be valid because the fundamental right is itself is not there. But once emergency is gone, the fundamental right is coming back to you, then this law will become invalid. Okay, even even during emergency time, parliament can pass the laws which is connected to emergency only. Then only, even if it is violating the fundamental rights, it will not be questioned in the court. Okay, if some law you are making which is not at all related to emergency during this context, that will not be valid in this context. Okay, so the laws which can violate the fundamental rights, which type of law? The laws which are connected to the emergency. Okay, so Article 19 can be suspended only when national emergency is declared on the ground of war and external aggression, 44th Amendment, and not on the ground of armed rebellion. This is what I've told you just now. Only those laws which are related with emergency are protected from being challenged, and no other laws. So you can make any laws which will violate the fundamental right, but if it is violating, fundamental rights, then you can challenge it in the court. Which laws you cannot challenge? If it is related to emergency, you cannot challenge. Okay, so the fundamental rights, this one especially in 19, cease to operate from the day it is proclaimed on the basis of war and external aggression. So the parliament can make any law which is against this, which is countering the fundamental right, but not any law. Only laws which are connected to national emergency or emergency. You cannot make any law. So 359 we have discussed again. The president can suspend the right to move to the court for the enforcement. What does this mean? Actually, the right is there. Okay, right is existing, but you cannot move to the court for enforcement. And that too, if president have passed an order with respect to that particular rights, that you cannot go to the court, then only it is applicable. Okay, so that means what? If president, no, that you can challenge in court. Okay, then the court can decide. If there is any doubts or clarification, you can challenge in court and the court can decide. Okay, you may say that see, the person who's complaining will say that it is not related to emergency. The state will say that it is related to emergency. So the question will be raised in the court and the court will decide. If there is any such dispute, obviously the one side will say that it is not related to emergency, so this is not valid. The other side, state, will try to defend by saying that this is related to emergency, so this is valid. But the court will decide whether it is related to emergency or not. And don't worry about that, just need to know this part only. Okay, now 359, I repeat again, it is not that the fundamental right is gone. Fundamental right is there, but under Article 32, you cannot go to Supreme Court for the enforcement. Now, is it applicable automatically? No. The president will pass an order which fundamental rights you cannot enforce. Those fundamental rights, if the state is making any law, you cannot get it enforced. Okay, state can make law, but that laws, again, state cannot make any law. The laws which are made by the state should be related with emergency. If you feel that state have made some law which is not at all connected with emergency and violated your fundamental right, what you will do? You will challenge it in the Supreme Court under Article 32. You will say that state can make law on matters related to emergency, which can take my fundamental rights. I'm okay with that. But this law, which is made by the state, is taking away my fundamental right, but is not related to emergency. Now the court will decide. Okay. This is what, when the presidential order is there, the state can make any law or can take any executive action taking away the specified fundamental right. Any such law or executive action cannot be challenged on the ground that they are inconsistent with the specified fundamental right. But guys, this any law, you should be understanding in this way. When I say any law, this law should be connected with emergency, not just like any law. Okay. If there is any dispute whether it is connected with emergency or not, who will decide? It is a judiciary ultimately will decide. Again, this one, 44th Amendment Act, you cannot suspend except these two articles is what we have discussed, right? So you cannot suspend right to move to the court for the enforcement of fundamental rights guaranteed under 20 and 21. That means right to protection on respect of conviction and also right to life. Similarly, only those laws which are related with emergency will be protected from being challenged. Other laws you can challenge. Here it is clear. This 358 and 359 is very important, guys. I repeat, 358 is related to Article 19. When the national emergency is proclaimed on the ground of war and national external aggression, it will automatically go on. 359 is related to the enforceability of fundamental rights except 20 and 21. Okay. And for this, a separate presidential order is required. For this, that's not required. Let's quickly look into this. 358 is confined to fundamental rights under Article 19, whereas 359 extend to all except 20 and 21. Okay. And here enforcement is suspended, not the fundamental rights. Here fundamental right is gone. Right. For 358 automatically suspend the fundamental right under Article 19 as soon as the emergency is declared. 359 does not automatically suspend any fundamental right. It only empowers the president to suspend the enforcement of the rights. 358 operate only in case of external emergency. That means war or external aggression. Okay. When the emergency is declared on war, and not in the case of internal emergency, that is the armed rebellion. But in case of 359, it will also come into existence. President can do that. So what about 19, Article 19? Article 19 will automatically get suspended when? Only under Article 358. When? In context of war and external aggression, not in the context of armed rebellion or internal emergency. But what will happen? If it is internal emergency, can Article 19 get suspended? Article 19 will remain, but enforceability can be suspended under Article 359. Okay. Here, Article 358 suspend fundamental right under Article 19 till the period emergency is there, because it is automatically getting into, right. Once the emergency is proclaimed, it is automatically active. So only upon revocation this will be gone. But this is based on the order of the president, which the duration can be fixed. It can be a shorter period or as the president decide. 358 extend entire country, whereas 359 may be part of it. Okay. (358) enabled the state to make any law or take any executive action inconsistent with the fundamental right under Article 19, while 359 enabled the state to make any law or to take executive action inconsistent with those fundamental rights whose enforcement is suspended by the presidential order. So in the presidential order, if you're suspending some of the, for example, is there any scope in suspending Article 17, untouchability? No, right? That, like I've told you, there's an absolute right, something which is absolute in nature. So these cases will be challenged anyway. Okay. Declarations made so far, I've told you guys, there is no point in this. Is what the commission have told you. The commission investigated the emergency which was in 1975, did not justify the declaration of emergency, and that's why some modifications and changes have been made in the 44th Amendment Act. So 44th Amendment Act is very significant when it comes to the national emergency. Okay. So what were the main changes in 44th Amendment Act? I'll repeat again. One is the cabinet. Okay. Then it has to be within 1 month. Then it has to be with special majority. Okay. And then this with respect to fundamental right also, right, on the ground of war and external aggression. right? The fundamental right 19 will be gone. Okay. Similarly, Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended. These are the changes which has been there in 44th Amendment Act. 42nd, nothing. 42nd, what I've told you is the only one point, right? It can be either across India or it can be in the specific region. Like in Rajasthan, you are facing some problem, or in Gujarat, you are facing some problem. So there is no point in putting emergency in Kerala or Tamil Nadu. So that is what 42nd Amendment. 42nd Amendment is not important, not that relevant with respect to national emergency or from exam point of view. Okay, one more important point in 44th Amendment is, see, once it is approved, I've told you it will remain for 6 months. Okay, earlier this was not the case. Earlier, till the time president issue and revocation, so it can go unlimited. Now 6 months, 6 months you need the approval from Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha with a special majority every 6 months. That was not the case before 44th Amendment. That is also very important. I missed this point out. I haven't seen that in Lakshmikant also. That's the reason why I missed it out. I hope this point is clear. Now 6 months once, if it is approved 6 months, then again if you need to extend another approval, if you need to extend further another 6 months, okay, like that it will go. Earlier that was not the case. You don't want any approval, it will go till president passed this revocation. Yeah, Gaurav, tell me. And one more point, I think this is what you wanted to ask me. 3 years is the maximum. Yeah, tell me, Gaurav.
Sir, when we are talking about that the suspension of the fundamental right and just the suspension of the enforcement, what is the difference between both of these? In both cases, I cannot go to court, and in both cases, my fundamental right is taken away.
No, suspension of fundamental right, I'm saying only in one case, that is in 19, Article 19. It is automatically get suspended because this is very sensitive one. A national emergency itself is very sensitive. In which context we are talking about this? War, external aggression. Like when you're fighting against China or when you're fighting against Pakistan, and if you're allowing the fundamental rights like right to freedom of speech and expression, some people in India also will create some problems, right? Like they speak for Pakistan and they will create issues. So this is not and right to movement. You will move to any place by saying that this is right to move, and you may even disturb the army, and you can do anything. So automatically this is not desirable. So it have to be suspended. It should not be there.
Sir, but the enforcement, like in the case of 359, it is written that the right is there, only the enforcement is suspended.
Mm.
So it's
No,
similar to like
enforcement is
the
suspended means in if any of the right of the president or the cabinet feel that it is going to create problems, that right is allowed, or it is going to affect the country or implementation of any law, then Parliament can pass a resolution that at this point of time we cannot. Arjun, please turn off your mic. You cannot turn. You cannot use this. You cannot use this fundamental right like that.
so is it same like it they have taken the fundamental right?
It's almost like they have taken the fundamental right, but they are not using it. It's very diplomatically used word.
Yeah. And sir,
Because
also,
once you are saying that you cannot enforce it, then what is the point? It is like you are given the food, but you don't have the teeth to bite.
yeah. And sir, also in case of revocation, it is written that president can revoke it without the approval of the parliament. It nowhere talks about whether the permission of the cabinet is.
It is president's direction, president's desirability and wish and everything means it is the wish of the prime minister and the cabinet.
Okay. So it is
That is
by
implied.
default there.
By default, it is
Okay.
implied.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So we will stop here. We will continue with president rule and financial emergency tomorrow. I think I'll be completing that tomorrow. See you guys.